so that we can
I got you.
get right into it. Welcome to all of you all for attending and participating in our launch event of the New Jersey's Pathway and Skills Collaboratives. We are very excited about this event because we know it's the beginning of some really great work that will benefit adults and students alike in our great state. I'm going to ask everyone to please mute your microphone. Also, I'm going to ask you all to please, throughout the presentation, if you have questions, please post them in the chat box that you'll find at the bottom, on the bottom menu bar of Zoom next to share screen. Erin Fichner, president of the
other meetings are on our board dates.
Council of County Colleges, will be responding to questions verbally at the end of this session. And for all the questions we don't get to today or this morning, we will absolutely be following up with email responses. We are so excited to have you all here. We believe that the Pathway and Skills Collaboratives initiative will absolutely address the challenges, but also highlight the opportunities that our state faces currently. We think it's our responsibility to address the skills gaps, the affordability and access issues to higher education and workforce training, but not just address them with user-friendly information, user-friendly education and training pathways for a more equitable and resilient economy. So again, we're just excited to have you. I guess I didn't really introduce myself, although you see I'm Catherine Stargell on the screen, Director of Strategy, Outreach, and Communications for the New Jersey Council.
Doing three things at one time, it's ridiculous. Because I was supposed to start at 10 o'clock meeting. But
again,
yeah, so
mute your microphones, please. Thank you. Next up is Mike Madonna, who is president of Raritan Valley Community College. He is also chairman of the New Jersey Consortium of Workforce and Economic Development. And he is going to grace us with some opening remarks as well. President Madonna.
Thank you, Catherine. Good morning. And good morning, everyone. I apologize that I am not on Zoom. I hope everyone can hear me. I'm traveling. I want to begin by thanking everyone for attending today's event. I am certain that the Pathways and Skills Collaborative will prove to be a key moment in the history of New Jersey's community colleges. And I think it's a defining moment of leadership for New Jersey's Council of County Colleges. And I'd like to begin on that note. And I'd like to acknowledge Aaron Fichner's role in making this event possible today. And I also want to recognize many of the state and national leaders that have decided to attend this meeting. Thank you for being here. We thank you for your participation, for your encouragement, and we certainly look to you for guidance. I think especially at this particular moment, we have a unique opportunity to not only help our state recover from the profound economic consequences of the pandemic, but perhaps more importantly, we have a chance to address the ever-present issues of access, of equity, of opportunity, and of justice for our most deserving and our most vulnerable students.
Well, I don't need this.
But I urge us to act now.
Okay.
And we must act.
Here, you just got to turn on volume. I didn't want to mess with anything on your computer.
Do I have to?
I don't have to, do I?
No, you don't have to do that.
And
Where's your volume?
and we must act in
Good
an
morning, how are you
intentional,
today?
strategic way.
Okay.
Above all, we must collaborate. This partnership today is broad and it is inclusive. It involves and embraces our county votex, our state and federal offices, our employers, our unions, our four-year colleges and universities, our nonprofit agencies, and our national organizations. But most importantly, it is the 18 community colleges that call New Jersey home. If this bold initiative is to succeed, we must align our vision, our resources, and our strategic operations to design, build, and sustain these vital pathways. Together, I am certain that we can identify critical labor market need. We can offer accessible, affordable pathways that lead to industry-valued credentials. We can promote accelerated, competency-based, stackable learning experiences. And we can support this state's much-needed economic recovery. But we will achieve this only if we collaborate. Today's gathering suggests we are ready to embrace these challenges. We are ready to partner and to restore hope to our residents. I can think of nothing more important at this moment. So to conclude, thank you again for your commitment to what I think is a daring and an innovative initiative. I really am honored to count each of you as a colleague, and it is inspiring to witness the transformations that are taking place in our campuses and in our state. So thank you so much, and again, I am sorry I am not on Zoom, but it's not something you would like to see. So over to you again, Catherine. Thank you.
Thank you, President Madonna. I'm sure you look just fine. I'm sure. I'm going to now turn it over to Aaron Fichner, President of the New Jersey Council of Community Colleges, who's going to talk about why now and make the case for pathway and skills collaboratives. Aaron?
Thank you, Catherine, and thank you, President McDonough, for that great introduction that really framed why we're here and what we are trying to do. We are at a very, very important moment in our state's history, and this effort, we believe, will provide the forum for us all to come together to solve some of the big challenges that we face and the opportunities that are in front of us. So before I get started, I just wanted to recognize, first of all, again, thank all of you for joining us this morning for this important conversation. Many of you who are on this Zoom call today have had some role in helping to influence the design and the need for this effort. And so I appreciate all the work that all of you have done, starting with our Vision 2028 effort here at the Council, to the other planning and discussions that we have had over the last year or so and intensified during this pandemic. I am going to provide an overview of where we are in the state and why we believe that this initiative will help address the challenges and meet those opportunities. Before I get started, I just wanted to recognize a couple of people who are on the phone or on the Zoom. I've noticed that we have a significant number of our community college presidents on the phone. In addition to President McDonough, I see Presidents Reber, Ciozzi, McCormick, Gaba, Connolly, Rose, Borden, and Iacona, and I may have missed others. And I thank them for their leadership and their partnership in this important effort. And we have a number of members of our executive committee of the council who are on. I see Mary Zimmerman from Union County College. She is our vice chair of the council. Thank you, Mary, for joining us this morning as well. I also want to acknowledge the staff at the council that you will meet later that have really worked to make this day possible and this effort possible. you met Catherine Stargell, but I also want to introduce Travis Reed, who is our strategy lead at the council and the consortium for the Pathway and Skill Collaboratives, Sandra Bleckman, who's our senior project manager for employer outreach, and Zakir Mirza, who's our project manager for workforce development and policy. So you'll meet them later, but I wanted to acknowledge them and introduce them all to you. So why are we here? We believe, as Mike said in his opening remarks, that we have a moment where we really need to take bold action. We want to commit to work with all of you to build accessible, industry-valued education and training pathways that we believe are necessary if we are to expand economic opportunity, if we are to prepare our workforce with the skills that employers need in what we all know is a rapidly changing economy.
Difference as to what that word means. We will level this playing field for our families. The principle that we coalesced.
We did not know that Governor Murphy was joining us this morning. I think someone's listening to his speech about the agreement on the budget. So if you get any updates, let us know. So the mission of this initiative is quite simply to create a statewide network of education and workforce preparation that is industry-driven, partnership-based, and focused on equity and inclusion. And I will go through, I think, and unpack this mission statement because there are quite a few really important concepts here. We are talking about finally taking the step to build a strong network of high schools, community colleges and universities, workforce development organizations, including our workforce development boards, the state agencies and departments, community and faith-based organizations that are working to all come together in an industry-driven manner to really build pathways to economic opportunity. And it is critically important, and we're all reminded by the events of the last couple of months, how important it is for us to continue a relentless focus on equity and inclusion and doing all that we can to make sure that we are addressing the systemic racism and inequities in our society as we work to expand economic opportunity and to build a skilled workforce. So the state has set an ambitious goal, as many of you know, to increase the percentage of adults in New Jersey that hold some post-secondary credential or degree. The goal that New Jersey has set is 65% by the year 2025. Currently, 56.5% of our adults in New Jersey have some post-secondary credential or degree. That's a good number. We are in the top 10 of all states in the percentage of adults with some post-secondary degrees and credentials. And as you can see, we are higher than the national average of 51.3%. But we all know that the economy is changing rapidly and that employers are increasingly looking for workers who have the post-secondary education and credentials that say to them that they've got the skills necessary to drive their businesses forward. And so the flip side is that while we have 56% of our adults with post-secondary education, we've got 45% without that opportunity. And I think we all on this call would agree that increasingly individuals who do not have a post-secondary education of some kind will increasingly be challenged to obtain careers and jobs that will sustain their families and make sure that they are moving up the economic ladder. And so it is critically important, we believe, that we continue to expand the number of people in New Jersey who have a post-secondary credential. And while our percentages are quite high overall, like I said, we rank in the top 10 of all states, not that we have a lot of work to do. We have incredibly significant inequities in educational post-secondary attainment in our state. As you can see from the chart on the right, the attainment rates for Hispanic, Native American, and African American New Jerseyans are far lower than they are for the whole of our state. And we believe strongly that if we are to build an equitable and resilient economy, we need to do more to make sure that all New Jerseyans have opportunities to obtain post-secondary credentials and degrees and to have family supporting careers. We also have extreme inequities geographically. Obviously, some of our urban areas have lower attainment rates, and we have great diversity in counties. Some of our counties have quite low post-secondary attainment rates, and some of them have much, much higher. And so we are very focused on this effort in doing all that we can to make sure that all New Jerseyans, regardless of who they are or where they live, that they have access to post-secondary credentials and education that will help them obtain a family supporting career. So 2020 has been an unprecedented year in our state's history and our nation's history. And I don't need to say that to all of you because we're having this Zoom gathering. Normally we'd all be together, right? But here we are on Zoom adjusting to a very, very different reality. The public health crisis has clearly had an unbelievable effect on New Jerseyans. Way too many people have died and have been stricken by this COVID disease. And that is an issue. But also, as we all know, this crisis has forced mass layoffs, has restructured many jobs. We currently have 1 million New Jerseyans who are unemployed. That is unemployment levels that we have not seen in our state since the Depression. The level of unemployment in our state is higher than it was clearly in the Great Recession, and we all thought that was an incredible challenge for New Jersey. And while we all hope that as we get through this COVID crisis, that our economy will rebound, I think all of us would agree that the jobs that will be created and the jobs that will be sustained will fundamentally be different than the jobs that were here before the pandemic hit us. And I'm not sure any of us can really fully predict or understand those changes, but it's important for all of us to think about that the world that we left behind economically and from a labor market perspective is going to be very different than the world that we emerge out of when we come out of this pandemic. And we know that this pandemic and in historically that we've had a history of a mismatch between the skills of our workers and our residents and the skills that are demanded by employers. That is a longstanding challenge that we've always faced, and we think it's exacerbated by the challenges that are in front of us here in 2020. On top of that, we are at a very critical moment in our state's history. We have been reminded very much over the last couple of months about the incredible systemic racism and racial inequities that we face in our state. And we believe that we all have a responsibility to do more to address those issues, working together. The racial wealth gap and employment challenge really have reemerged as critical issues, and these need collaborative solutions. So we believe that this healthcare crisis, this economic crisis, this reckoning with a long-standing history in our country and our state of racial injustice and inequities really brings us to instability in our economy, but really brings us to a moment where we need to act and pull together and provide leadership to ensure that we address all these issues and we do it in a way that creates a more equitable and resilient New Jersey. So New Jersey's community colleges are leading this effort, and we are proud to be doing so and proud to have all of you in partners in this effort. We are 18 geographically diverse institutions. We are the only institutions, post-secondary institutions in the state that have statewide reach. We serve 300,000 individuals every year in credit and non-credit courses. So that is a significant percentage of our state's population is touched by community colleges. And 50% of all undergraduates in New Jersey in public institutions are enrolled in a community college. So the reach that we have, the statewide reach, the longstanding history and foundation that our community colleges have, and their local connections mean that we feel that we have a real responsibility to step up and to work with all of you to make a better New Jersey. We are committed to this effort, and we are investing $300,000 from our New Jersey Community College Consortium for Workforce and Economic Development to seed this critical work. We believe that this is so critically important that we believe that an investment from the community colleges is necessary to get this moving. We are well positioned for impact, but we cannot do this alone, clearly. It's important to note, I think, that we believe that the Pathway and Skill Collaboratives will complement and strengthen the wide variety of existing initiatives across New Jersey. We have many efforts that are currently going on, and it is our hope that the Pathway and Skills Collaboratives will become a framework that builds on those important efforts and connects the dots in ways that really strengthens all of those efforts. The state and the governor has laid out an ambitious Jobs NJ plan for workforce and economic development. The Office of Secretary of Higher Education has laid out an ambitious plan for higher education that really guides much of our work. The Community College Opportunity Grant Program, which expands access to community college education for people in households making less than $65,000 a year, is an important foundational investment that must be connected to this work. And the Department of Labor and Workforce Development has undertaken a number of significant initiatives that have a direct connection to this work. You'll hear later from Leslie Hirsch about the innovative work the department has done around labor market intelligence, and we will build and connect to that work. The department is committed to expand next generation sector partnerships to build regional collaborations. We believe that this statewide effort will be an incredibly important support for that next generation sector work that is going on in regions across our state. And the department has made an incredible commitment to expanding apprenticeships. We see apprenticeships as being an integral part of a Pathways model, and believe that this Pathways and Skills Collaborative work will only help to amplify the important work that the department has undertaken in the area of apprenticeships. So we really view this effort as being complementary to all of the incredible work that's already going on in our state. So let's talk about the goals very briefly for why we are here and what we hope to do. So we are committed to better aligning education to the rapidly changing skill needs of employers. We are committed to creating more usable information so that students and adults can make better decisions about the educational choices and the career pathway choices in front of them. We are committed to increasing opportunities for adults to get the education and training they need for career advancement. As I said, 45% of our adults in New Jersey do not have post-secondary education or credentials. And we know that in a rapidly changing economy, many adults will have to go back to get additional credentials and skills in order to remain relevant and to continue to have family supporting careers. We believe that it's critically important that we strengthen partnerships to help students transition from one educational level, one educational program to another, and to continue on their career pathways. That's making sure that high school students can transition to post-secondary education, that community college students can transition easily to four-year college opportunities, and that students in our non-credit programs or students in community and faith-based training programs can transition into other opportunities. And it is critically important, an important goal, that we make sure that we're promoting equity and inclusion throughout the workforce and education system, and do that through this work. So what are we going to do? What are the Pathway and Skill Collaboratives actually going to do? And there are 4 important tasks for each collaborative. The first is to assess the need of our industries, to identify the industry valued credentials and degrees using employer feedback and labor market intelligence. It's important for us to understand the current state, to do a full inventory of all of the degree and certificate programs, the non-credit training programs, the capacity of our educational institutions, the partnerships that currently exist, to create a full inventory of the programs and the pathways that currently exist, so that we ensure that we're building on the incredible work that has already occurred. Thirdly, we are committed to mapping the key pathways in each industry, built around the in-demand industry-valued credentials and degrees, and including a wide variety of components in those pathways. from career and technical education programs at our county vocational high schools, to dual enrollment programs, adult basic education, literacy, apprenticeships. We are committed to finding ways to award college credit for prior learning and work experience, building pathways from non-credit programs into credit programs, and building pathways to four-year colleges and universities. So the plan here is to map 3 to 4 key pathways in each industry, and I'll talk about what that means, and to use that information influenced by input from industry to really drive that effort. And then finally, we will work together to build pathways. We will identify in the future state effort where we are lacking programs and investments and credentials, and we will work together to find ways to build those pathways across our state. So a couple of key elements when we say pathways, just wanted to point out what we mean by that. And you can see the chart on your screen. We mean a pathway built around stackable credentials and degrees that give learners at all ages a clear sense of where they can go in their careers and in their jobs with further education. And that may very well start with a credential in a county vocational technical high school. It may start with a credential earned in a community-based organization, but we would like to see that also be able to lead to programs at community colleges and associate's degrees, and those lead to bachelor's degrees and graduate degrees. A key component of the pathway is there should be no dead ends. All the pathways that we build should give people the opportunity to continue to build on their education and to continue to move up the career ladder. We want to make sure that there are exit ramps and on-ramps for the pathways, that we're clearly explaining to students and learners and all of us the occupations that connect to the varying levels of education that somebody may receive. We also believe that it's critically important that we build pathways from our non-credit programs, particularly in our community colleges, but in our community-based organizations as well, into credit-bearing programs so that students and adults are moving up the educational ladder, that every educational opportunity builds on each other. I want to recognize our commitment to expanding prior learning assessments to make sure that individuals with experience can get credit for that prior learning and be able to accelerate their movement up a pathway. It's also important to note that we need to build pathways that are relevant for adults. There are many adults in New Jersey that do have post-secondary degrees or credentials, but given changes in the economy or changes in their interests or goals, need to come back to an educational institution to get on a new pathway. And so the concept of on-ramps and off-ramps is critically important. The concept of stackability is very, very important. And all of this, this pathway concept, we believe, can really undergird some very, very important collaborative work across all of the institutions and all of us who are on this call today. So just a couple of key components of the pathways. I touched on these a couple of times, but just to highlight a number that I think are worth highlighting. The high school to post-secondary pathways are very, very important. We have a set of very good innovative partnerships. You'll hear about some of them later with dual enrollment and pathways that help students get post-secondary pathways. It's also important, I think, that we acknowledge, like I said before, that state and federal financial aid programs, including the New Jersey Community College Opportunity Grant Program, can be critically important parts of this effort as we get students into credit-bearing programs that will allow them to take advantage of state and federal financial aid programs. And it's important also to note that we believe that the education and training in partnership with employers of their current workforce is also an important part of this component. While many of the pathway work will focus on individuals who are unemployed or underemployed or not yet in the labor market, we are committed to expanding our partnerships with employers to make sure that currently employed individuals have opportunities to get credentials and degrees to help them move up the career ladder and help their employers become more productive. So we are focusing in the first round of the Pathway and Skills Collaboratives on 4 key industries. We believe these 4 industries are really the foundation of our state's economy, and we believe that they offer important pathway opportunities for our residents. Health services is our largest industry in New Jersey, and we know how important that is now more than ever because of this pandemic. Global manufacturing and supply chain management, which combines a focus on manufacturing with a focus on transportation, logistics, and distribution, is obviously a critically important industry cluster to our state. Innovation and technology, which runs through companies that have a technology focus, but also many, many jobs, as all of us know, have a technology and innovation component to them. And so that is a broad and important component. And then the 4th industry we are focusing on is the energy industry. Obviously, our large and traditional utilities really power our state. And given the focus on renewable energy and wind energy, and with coming retirements in the utility industry, we know that there will be a great need to continue to build pathways in that very, very important industry. We are open over time to adding additional industries to this effort based on resources and interest and priorities, but we felt that these 4 industries are foundational to our state's economy and a very, very important start for this important work. So the structure of the collaboratives. The collaboratives will be really built around 3 different structures. The first is every collaborative will have an industry leadership team, which will consist of industry leaders, employers, industry associations, labor unions, and they will meet on a regular basis to discuss their common workforce needs, to provide us with up-to-date information on their workforce challenges and opportunities, and really ensure that this effort is being driven by the needs of industry. At the core of this effort is Pathway Partners. So we will be asking all of you after this meeting and through subsequent communications and other organizations that may not have been able to participate today to become Pathway Partners in any of the Pathway collaboratives that you would choose to join. This is obviously a voluntary and membership-oriented collaboration. And so we welcome all county vocational technical schools, community-based organizations, 4-year colleges, and other partners, workforce development boards, to join any one or all of these Pathway and Skills collaboratives.
That's part of my concern. You know, normally you're going to nominate somebody as a president who is interested.
If you could please mute yourself, thank you. And then finally, we will be establishing and are establishing a community college team consisting of community college leaders who will work to make sure that we are doing more than our fair share to move community colleges to support this effort. We have already had colleges commit to this effort. And for each of the 4 collaboratives, we have 14 to 16 of our colleges already committed to work collaboratively to make sure that this effort moves forward aggressively. So we'll talk more about roles and responsibilities and encourage all of you to be part of this effort. But we believe this structure will ensure that we are driven by the needs of industry, that we are collaborative in our work, and we are rooted in the important efforts of our community colleges. So thank you again all for being here. I know there are lots of questions that we will get to at the end, but at this point, I would like to turn it over to a number of key individuals that have been really critically important partners in this effort, and to offer their perspectives on where we are in the state and where we need to go in the coming months to make sure that we address the challenges that we face and the opportunities that are in front of us. I'd like to start with a national perspective from Jen Worth, who is the Senior Vice President of Workforce and Economic Development at the American Association of Community Colleges. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Jen.
Thanks, Erin. Hi, everybody. I know I was given a couple of minutes, but just to make sure I give you all back on clock, I will just go very quickly and say thanks on behalf of the American Association of Community Colleges for the opportunity to talk to all of you. I was fortunate enough to work with many of the presidents that are on this call and also with Erin. But in the start of the pandemic, AACC scanned the entire country for how colleges were going to respond. And we put out a white paper, which I just linked in the chat box, around the economics of a mindful return. That white paper talked about colleges reopening and prioritizing certain programming to make sure that we had talent pools coming out of each state that were diverse and robust. That got the attention of Lumina Foundation and subsequently National Governors Association and Siemens Foundation, so we created the Reskilling and Recovery Network. Part of that work has 21 different states in it, each one with a state team. I am delighted to say that New Jersey is not just a part of that work and looking across the states for strategic best practices, but you guys really have emerged as a leader. And because of the plans that Erin had outlined, the thoughtfulness and the depth and breadth of your intentionality related to equitable and resilient economies and recovery, you guys were actually some of the first people we ever asked to speak to that national network. So you guys really are in a position of power. I think you are in a unique time where you are focused on optimizing your talent pool. And truly, I'm just delighted to be able to stand next to you during your coming days and months and look forward to servicing you in any way that's helpful. So thanks, Erin, for letting me be here.
Jen, thank you so much. We certainly value the connection to AACC. We are committed throughout this effort to making sure that we are learning from the best and most innovative efforts across this country. And so Jen and others will make sure that we have those opportunities. Thank you very much, Jen. We appreciate that. We have worked, we've had the honor of working at our Consortium for Economic and Workforce Development over many, many years with the New Jersey Business and Industry Association. They are our largest industry association. They have really been leaders in ensuring that we are thinking creatively about how to build an innovative system of higher education that really serves our state well. And so I'd like to turn it over to Chrissy Butius, who's the Chief Government Affairs Officer at NJBIA, for some remarks from the business community.
Sure, and thank you, Erin. Let me first start by acknowledging all the work that you have put into this plan, along with, I know, some of your other partners in education over at the vocational schools as well. As Erin alluded to, I'm Chrissy Butius. I'm with NJBIA, the state's largest business association, and we have been very, very focused on workforce development initiatives over the years and collaborating with both the council and the consortium on ways that we can connect our employers with furthering their education. We've consistently heard from our workforce that we need employers or employees who have the skills for the future, and how are we going to do that? And one of the things that Erin and I have been working on along with our team at NJBIA is how are we going to collaborate more effectively so that we join our businesses together with our higher ed institutions and making sure that the curriculum that all of you spend so much time teaching also matches what the employers need. And so when Erin and I were speaking about this plan, the word, collaboration was really critical, and really involving the employer community, which I see all outlined throughout this plan, I think is definitely a step, in the right direction. I know that many of you joined Erin and team for the Essential Skills Summit. It was probably held, pre-COVID. So I know we have to kind of rewind back a bit. And my colleague, Nikki Sandelier, presented on her Future of Work study, the preliminary findings at that time, where we focused on a lot of the different areas that this plan will definitely focus on as well. And, it's very clear after interviewing all of our businesses that it's critical to make sure that we have the skills that align with the future needs. And that's also going to be exacerbated and highlighted through COVID-19 in a world that we're just not sure what it's going to look like, when we come out on the other side of this. So in conclusion, I want to just, thank Aaron for this continued partnership. And along with all the community colleges around the state, we have the pleasure of working with them as well. This is something that we fully embrace. Look forward to taking a very active part in, not only having NJBIA working with Aaron in any capacity that's needed, but also to bring our employers on board as well, and to find out what those skill sets are. How do we get these employees through a pathway that's easy for them to navigate? Make sure that we get our adult learners, back into, into educational opportunities, and whatever background research we can provide, we'll be there to assist along the way. So Aaron, thank you again for this, and we look forward to working with you.
Chrissy, thank you so much. And thank you for your leadership at the statewide level at NJBIA. And thanks to Michelle Sakurka, who's the head of NJBIA, for her leadership. And Nikki Sandelier's research will be very instrumental in helping to guide our work. So thank you very much for being with us today and for this really important partnership. So next I'd like to hear from Matthew Allen, who's the Director of Career and Education at the German American Chamber of Commerce. As many of you know, there's been increased attention at an interest in looking at the German model for how in Germany they educate and train a skilled workforce that has propelled the economy. And so Matthew has been a good partner with us at the council, and we look forward to working with him on this important effort. So now I'll turn it over to Matthew. Okay, Matthew, are you there?
Yes, I wasn't allowed to unmute myself. Sorry, thank you.
Oh, great.
Thank you, Aaron. Yeah, this is fantastic. A chance to talk to everybody. I also want to thank Tony Icano at County College of Morris, our first partner for the apprenticeship programs that we support in the States. We're also very excited to continue to work with the broad network. Maybe quickly to give a little background, the German American Chamber was founded in 1947, 1 year before the Federal Republic of Germany was formed. And we are here to support transatlantic businesses. So it's not just about Germany. In order to best understand the needs of industry, we survey German subsidiaries in the US every year. And over the past 5 years, we've consistently received growing responses that a lack of skilled workers is a critical need across the board, but especially in the manufacturing industry. In Germany, the way that it's addressed, just like Aaron was saying, is through a partnership between local technical colleges and companies and structured apprenticeship programs that skill up career starters. The system is known as the dual education system, and it's been wildly successful. It serves as a model around the world. Many leaders of companies start their careers as apprentices, since they're the ones who have the core understanding of what the company does and how it works. The German chambers of commerce within Germany are tasked with managing the system and providing the certification credentials that give employers, the confidence that these apprenticeships really are what they say they are. They serve the same role, basically, that the Department of Labor does here in the U.S. So, as the representative of the German chambers in the U.S., we've brought this system here, along with the curriculum that serves as its foundation. And we've brought it to our community to support our industry needs. When we go out and speak with companies, we explain that the German dual education system doesn't just expect a career starter to become skilled. It wants to build up well-rounded adults who are motivated to grow with the company and to contribute to their communities. We believe that associate's degrees are the necessary component to provide this balance. Another aspect of balance that we're working toward is giving skilled learners the same exciting and meaningful academic experiences that bachelor students have. We're in the process of building a platform for international exchange programs for apprentices, ones who are in associates programs specifically. I'm speaking next week with a number of German government partners about making this happen. We're looking at next year for the first round, and also to provide funding to make sure that this opportunity isn't just, isn't derailed by financial constraints. So we support all apprentices we want apprenticeships to grow. We believe in this as the route to supporting the economy going forward. But the ones which we praise and the ones which we directly manage as a multi-employer DOL sponsor require the full buy-in of the employer. Our host companies are required to pay increasing wages, starting at $15 per hour and scaling up over a course of milestones, and pay for the full associate's degree at an NJ County College. This whole program takes a course of 3 years with 3 days on the job per week, 2 days in class. And we've seen it be a model that the companies are prepared to take on, because they recognize that when they do that, they're doing exactly what the Business Industry Association says. They need to share what their needs are for the county colleges to really target the skills necessary. I'm confident these kinds of opportunities are going to be exactly what the industry needs and what the students need. As they become more transparent to high school students, high potential learners with aptitude and motivation for hands-on skills are going to seek out the programs, and they're going to succeed with the county colleges and with our communities. So that's pretty much it. I'm in the process right now of recruiting, or we're doing candidates are interviewing with the company in Gloucester County tomorrow, and we're going to be with. I believe that just because of the location of the company, we're probably going to be at Camden County College for the associate's degree. But we're very excited. We continue to want to work with more and more of the colleges on these great programs.
Thank you, Matt. Matthew, appreciate you being here with us today. I think we are committed to using the Pathway and Skills Collaboratives to be the bridge that connects innovative efforts like the one that you're working on, as well as connecting to the needs of companies like those that are members of your organization. So thank you for being with us today. Next, I want to turn to Lourdes Valdez, who's the Director of Workforce Development and Grants at RWJ Barnabas Health. It's important to note that RWJ Barnabas Health is our state's largest employer, and has been an incredibly important partner for us here in the community colleges, working on a number of exciting initiatives. And we are very excited to have Lourdes and her team talk today and be part of this important Pathways and Skills Collaboratives efforts. So with that, I'd like to introduce Lourdes.
Thank you, Aaron, and thank you for your leadership, and thank you for your support and this great vision that you have afforded us to as employers. And thank you for your friendship and partnership. So one of the things that RWJ Barnabas did in 2018 is establish a division within human resources for workforce development. There was a beginning of understanding of how workforce development ties to recruitment and creating talent pipelines. No longer can we consider the traditional methods of recruitment as efficient or sufficient to be able to provide and fulfill the talent needs that the organization needed. So upon the initiation of this division, we were able to create various partnerships. We understood very clearly that our partnerships with our community colleges, partnerships with community organizations was key to the success of our division, because they understood exactly what workforce looked like. Believe it or not, our biggest challenge was internally. Sharing with our hiring managers, sharing with our leadership what workforce development was about. Fortunately, through our partnerships with the community colleges, we have been able to prove the worth of workforce development within an organization, not only as a public government entity. So additionally to that is, for us, our biggest wake-up call has been our pandemic. COVID-19, realizing that the skills of our employees needed to rise up to that occasion. So the ability to be able to provide our employees to hone their skills, to improve their skills, but not only professionally, but also personally, from time management to stress management, and to be able to support them throughout those challenges has been key to the success of our services to our community. I wanted to also add that preparing the future workforce within healthcare is extremely important, because as Aaron has very well said, we do not know what it's going to look like. We do not know what is going to, even within healthcare, as best as we guess, as much as research as we're putting behind this, we still have to wait what this is going to look like at the end and how we're going to come out of at the end. But we have to make sure that our employees are prepared to come out at the end, that they're able to give the service to the community that we are committed to do. So one of the many efforts that we have started is working with apprenticeships. That has been where we have been able to put into training in a 2-year college. So once I want to go back a couple of steps. Many times in healthcare, specifically with apprenticeships, training happens, as you mentioned before, Matthew, you have a 3-year program. But many times in apprenticeships, the vision is, on-the-job training, quick training, on-the-job training. But in healthcare, you cannot provide services to a patient until you're licensed, correct? Until you're certified to do those services. So for us, it's a little bit different. Apprenticeships look a little bit different. First, we have to provide the training. Then we're able to put you on the job to give you that to give you that experience. We have been we were lucky enough to receive $800,000 from the state of New Jersey for apprenticeships, where we currently have 60 of our employees, more than half of them as medical in a program, a 2-year program at Mercer Community College for medical lab technicians. Wasn't that a great, I said, what a lucky guess we had that we were able to put that into place when laboratories became such critical during the pandemic. Also, we have about 17 paramedics also receiving training. Another great guess. And along with that, we also have our advanced certified nursing assistant program. They're all key to the success of our services to our community, to address the pandemic issues that may be coming up. So we're very lucky to have those apprentices in place. Additionally, a very exciting thing is that we have been partnering with the community colleges through their CCOG program, where we're able to provide our frontline employees and those that do not have a degree, the opportunity to receive funding to continue their education. I remember when we first approached, Aaron and I first spoke about this, and Catherine with Zakir, and I remember when we said we only have a month to recruit employees to participate in the COG before the fall starts. Aaron goes to me, goes, well, Lourdes, do you think we could get 100 employees enrolled? And I said, I think we can do a little better than that. We had over 400 employees respond within 1 month to be able to enroll in the community colleges. That has, and to create a process together with Zakir, with Catherine, and to create a process where our employees are being supported and encouraged to continue their education has been priceless. Talking about a great retention tool for employers. So for us, we continue to work towards this partnership. We continue to support anything the New Jersey Council of County Colleges invites us to participate in, and definitely would love to share this with other employers. I think I would love to talk to the NJBIA and speak about this to them also, because I think we have a great model in place that is working and that we can set as an example. So thank you all for listening, and I look forward to our work together.
Thank you so much, Lourdes. Thank you for the partnership. I think we are proving that if we can come together and find common interest, that we can really move all of our work forward and really make a better New Jersey, because those employees that you are helping are going to move up the career ladder, get more earnings, and be better members of their families. It's all a very, very good thing. So thank you. And we look forward to Barnabas's involvement in the health services pathway and skills collaborative in particular. So thank you very much. So we've heard from three different representatives from the employer community. Thank you, Chrissy, Matthew, and Lourdes. And now I'd like to turn to Judy Savage, who's the Executive Director of the New Jersey Council of County Vocational Schools. The community colleges and our county vocational technical schools have an incredibly important partnership. We are both county-based institutions focused on building career pathways. And just a couple of weeks ago, we had a summit of vocational technical school superintendents and community college presidents to renew the important partnership that exists among our institutions. And so we are very, very proud to have Judy and her team and all of the superintendents to be foundational partners, pathway partners in the Pathway and Skills Collaboratives. So I'm happy to introduce my longtime colleague, partner, and friend, Judy Savage.
Thank you so much, Aaron. It's great to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to say just a few words on behalf of my county vocational school colleagues, many of whom are on the call today. And thank you for your partnership, your friendship, and particularly your leadership in launching this exciting initiative. We do have a unique relationship between county vocational schools and community colleges because we share a focus on meeting workforce needs. And New Jersey's really unique in having a statewide network of county-based career and technical high schools. And we've got many great partnerships that have existed for a long time. But you know, as you noted, the COVID pandemic, as well as the really accelerating pace of technological, economic, and social change, has really intensified the need for us to work together. So our members and our schools are really thrilled with our partnership, our commitment to collaboration. And we really see creating the Pathway and Skills Collaboratives as a centerpiece of that effort. We look forward to being very engaged. I think we have to recognize that bringing together education, industry, community leaders to map these pathways in key industries is in fact a very ambitious undertaking. We're all used to being the leaders of our own programs, our own schools, our own colleges, our own businesses. And it may be hard to embrace new ways of thinking or new ways of addressing some of these critical needs. But in these times, the only way we can truly meet the needs of students, adults, and employers is by working together. We see these Pathway and Skills Collaboratives as providing more seamless pathways to well-paying careers, and it's going to offer students very clear guidance about which path to follow, and then a clear roadmap for how to achieve a credential or degree, and ultimately employment. And by tackling this work at the statewide level, we can really leverage the strengths of each institution and each partner, avoid unnecessary duplication, and truly align our needs with both employers and with residents. The Pathways and Skills Collaboratives will ultimately guide local decision-making, and we know that it's going to help our county vocational schools and community colleges as they work together with their local employers to align their programs, create the pathways that incorporate the credentials and the degrees that are aligned with needs. So it's been an incredibly challenging time for schools, for colleges, and for employers, but we are strong, we are resilient, and I know we can turn this crisis into an opportunity to move forward together. So on behalf of all of my colleagues, thank you for including us in this work. We're ready to roll up the sleeves of our Zoom shirts and get to work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Judy. Really appreciate your partnership and of all of the county vocational technical schools with our community colleges. We believe that this is a foundational set of partners in this effort, and it gives us the ability then to bring in four-year colleges and universities, workforce partners, community-based partners, and a strong set of pathway partners working closely with industry. So thank you, Judy, for your vision and leadership. We look forward to working with you. We had expected that Leslie Hirsch, an Assistant Commissioner of Research and Information from the Department of Labor and Workforce Development, would join us today. I think she has been called away to an emergency meeting. I don't see Leslie. I don't think she is on the call. Leslie, speak up if you are. I didn't see you. But I do want to say, kind of on behalf of Leslie, that her involvement today was really to reiterate the important connections that we are building between the Pathway and Skills Collaboratives and the work of the Department of Labor and Workforce Development, particularly around better understanding the needs of employers. Leslie has done a tremendous job over the last couple of years to bring innovative approaches to labor market intelligence information and the work that they are doing at the department around credentials and pathways is very much aligned with the work that we are doing. Again, this is a very, very important foundational partnership for this effort. And so we thank Leslie and her team for being part of this effort. And I apologize on her behalf that she was called away to an emergency meeting and not able to join us this morning. Thank you to all of our speakers. I think we've all heard a variety of different perspectives about why we're here and the challenges and opportunities that we can address if we all work together. I'm going to now turn it over to Travis Reed, who's our strategy lead for Pathway and Skill Collaboratives, to talk about roles and responsibilities. But before I do that, I just wanted to acknowledge a couple of other individuals that have been able to join us today. I see that President Larson is on the line, as well as Sheetal Ranjan, who's a member of our executive committee, a trustee from Bergen Community College, is on the line. And we're also very happy that Stephanie Thatchik from the Office of the Secretary of Higher Education was able to join us today, as also with David Sokolow, who's the Executive Director of the Higher Education Student Assistance Authority in New Jersey. And that is the agency, as many of you know, is responsible for the state's financial aid programs, including the CCOG program. So thank you for all of you for joining us, as well as all the other 140 plus individuals that are on the call this morning. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Travis Reed to talk more about where we go from here. I would encourage you all to use the chat function to ask any questions or make any comments. And we will answer them as we wrap up by 11:30. So thank you all. Thanks to our speakers, and on to Travis.
Great. Thank you so much, Aaron. Good morning, everyone. Really excited to be here and happy to have you all engage in this conversation. Again, thank you to all the speakers who have taken time out of their schedule to share their level of partnership and engagement in our efforts. And again, as Aaron mentioned earlier, it really is going to be a collaborative effort across the state to ensure that we're able to collectively respond to the economic challenges that our state faces and be that leading example around the country. And so what we're looking to do through the Pathway and Skills Collaboratives here through the county colleges is to really show how our infrastructure, how our assets, how our people, how our programs can partner with all of you around the state to help aid in that recovery. So a couple of the slides that I'm going to share, Aaron has gone over already. I am going to, though, provide a slightly additional context and a different lens. Really happy to have still 142 of you still on the line after the top of the hour, and want to make sure that you remain engaged throughout the remaining of the call. And so, as Aaron mentioned, we are focused on, to start, 4 industries that we feel will be critical based on labor market data for us to focus on. And I'm going to, by way of a wave, introduce 2 of my colleagues who are supporting in this work with the Pathway and Skills Collaboratives, Zakir Mirza, who's been with the council for some time and has done a lot of the groundwork prior to Sandra and I joining around these collaboratives. And Zakir is a project manager for policy and workforce strategy. So Zakir, just wave at everyone. For those who don't know you, they can know who you are. Zakir will be helping to manage the Innovation and Technology Pathways Skills Collaborative. So thank you, Zakir. And Sandra Blackman is our Senior Project Manager for Employer Outreach and Partnerships. So she will be reaching out to many of you as we move throughout this process. And she will be managing the health services and global manufacturing supply chain management pathways. And so, Sandra, if you could wave, let everyone know who you are.
Good morning.
Thank you. So really happy to have such great colleagues engaged in this work. Again, the data has led us to this point where we're looking at these 4 industries, and we wanted to make sure that there's support for the strategy, so the data gave us that. And so Aaron also shared the structure of the collaboratives. I'd like to go into this a little bit more without being redundant. The first box here on the left is the industry leadership team. This has been alluded to by a number of the speakers so far, but we feel it critical as we work on these pathway and skills collaboratives to make sure that we have the voice of industry included in this work, that we are responding to their needs. And those needs are changing now, right? Which is why communication is so critical. Lourdes mentioned in her comments earlier, just the rapid way in which the changing market has everyone planning for the future, but a bit unsure about how it will look. And so the industry leadership team is the body within the collaboratives that will be talking specifically about industry needs. We've already developed a couple of one-pagers with data that we've collected that's been pulled together by the Department of Labor in the past. Part of the work of our industry summits, which Catherine will tee up at the end of our call, speaks specifically to how each of those, the data behind each of those industries and why we selected them. But our first task will be to understand whether or not those data points are still relevant and to understand what has changed on the ground since the onset of this year, the pandemic and the amount of disruption that's caused. And so industry leaders, employers, labor unions, all of these partners are critical to that industry leadership team, and we're excited to have their engagement in that space. The pathway partners, and Aaron mentioned these earlier, but they're really critical. And so the way in which we see adding value to the landscape here in New Jersey is, one, understanding the landscape. There are a number of partners who have both a connection to industry and a deep connection to the community, from our county colleges to our vocational technical schools, and also community-based organizations, many of whom have found ways to make significant contributions both to their local communities and industry by providing quality workforce training that speaks to industry needs. And so pathway partners will be critical to this work as well. And then our community colleges, last but not least, our community colleges have a number of programs that they have administered over the years. They have the academic background and institution infrastructure, if you will, to be able to deliver across 18 different institutions that are geographically diverse around the state, an ability to touch almost 300,000 people a year. And so we want to leverage that. We want to leverage their reach and their commitment to this work by making sure that we're looking at both degree and non-degree work that can build into some really strong credentials that can allow us to continue to add a great value. And so when we look at the structure of the collaboratives, these are the 3 groupings of partners that we are talking about when we talk about the Pathway and Skills Collaboratives. Very briefly here, just on the tasks for each collaborative, one of the things I wanted to highlight on this page, I know Aaron talked about this page earlier as well. Again, the current state, we know that there are a number of credential and career pathways across the state. And so one of the things we want to be able to do is use this as an opportunity to do 2 things. One, evaluate the training that exists within our colleges already, determine how they best speak to industry needs, but also connect with employers and understand what their current needs are and work together to build that future state. So our goal is to build these pathways that will allow us to say, 6 months from now, these are the critical pathways in each industry that we understand to be strategically important, based on input from industry, based on input from other partners. And this is a strategic direction that we're going to engage as we seek to complement the many projects that are adding value to our state already that Aaron highlighted on an earlier slide. And then finally, on the key components to the pathways, one of the things I'd like to pull out here out of these bullets, there are a number of great non-credit training programs and pathways to post-secondary credit. We want to leverage both the credit-bearing side of our house and the non-credit-bearing side of the houses of the colleges to ensure that we are providing students with all the credentials that would be helpful for them. But ideally, we want to see how we can push the envelope a little bit, even internally. Lourdes, mentioned as well how the process of engaging different efforts around sourcing clients cause an internal reflection on how things are working. I think one of the things that we want to explore as we move forward is how the value that our non-credit programs bear, and whether or not we can find ways to allow students to gain access to credit while also getting an industry value credential and career, which will really streamline the process of learning and allow for synergy throughout our colleges. And so we have a really aggressive timeline, and so we recognize this, we say it up front. We are aggressive though, because we know that the time really is now for action. It's not a cliche. Things are changing so rapidly. If you think about the way in which colleges have been impacted, small businesses have been impacted, each day that goes by represents a lost opportunity. So our team, under Aaron's leadership, has committed to this really aggressive timeline that I'd like to walk you through as to what you can expect from us. So next month, we'll be having industry summits virtually. Again, Catherine will give you more information about that. But the idea is to start with our industry one-pagers and the data that we have to gather our partners and to have really targeted, meaningful conversations around information and to understand how that industry data will guide our ongoing efforts. In that conversation, we hope to tee up another conversation in November where we look to identify industry skill gaps. So what are those emerging gaps that exist now? What are the needs of the future for our employer partners, and understand where the gaps are at this point. By the end of the year, we want to fully define our current state. And so looking at our existing programs, determining how we can and truly understand what our assets are, what our strengths are on the ground by the end of this year. In January, we want to begin the process of mapping our future state. So what should the future look like? What future state would be most responsive to our partners? And how can we be best helpful and provide the most value add through this process? In February, we want to begin the process of implementing this strategy and then launching a new Pathways website that will allow us to share the pathways we develop in the industries to a broader audience of partners, across the state, across the nation, and even globally, because it will be online. So this is a very aggressive and ambitious timeline, but again, the commitment is to making sure that we are responding to challenges that are on the ground now and recognizing that we really just don't have the time to wait. So very briefly, because I believe I'm coming up on my time at this point, I would like to show you 3 sample pathway maps that we've developed in our research, looking to identify best practices around the country. And then we have a very short survey that you could poll that you can fill out online. And so this survey, this pathway map here is one that was developed by CUNY in New York City. It's an IT sector pathway. It starts on the left with computer user support specialist positions. And then it gives you kind of titles and then the industry certification within that box. And then there are kind of the next, and that's the entry job. And then there are other opportunities and positions, and also the salary and wages associated with those. And the graphic moves from left to right. And so this one we wanted to show to you because of the way in which it maps out for the IT sector. We, again, are focusing on information and technology as well here in our pathways, but wanted to make sure that we brought this example up. And also, personally, as a New York City native, it also kind of mirrors the subway map. And so I found that pretty cool. But this is one sample map of something that we thought was good in some of our research. This graphic, and I apologize, it's a little difficult to see, but this was created by Charlotte Works in North Carolina. This is an advanced manufacturing pathway map. If you look on the left, it has the certificate and credential attainment levels. Then in the columns, you'll see the kind of positions within those industries, the salary and wages, the titles, etc. So again, it's a different layout. It has much of the same information. It's a different industry, but one that will be included underneath the umbrella of one of our collaboratives. And just wanted to show this to you as well as a visual. And then the last one, I wanted to pull up and make sure you're able to see a final kind of model to compare. This one is a little hard to read, I apologize, because of some of the white text, but it's very clearly lays out. If you look at the roles, entry-level opportunities, intermediate, advanced, and then management roles. And so it tells you the education needed, the certificates needed. It even has ONET codes in here for folks to reference. So it's a very quick poll. And I know I went through this quickly. We will be sharing the slides afterwards, so it might be a little easier to take a look afterwards. But what I'd like to do, based on what you've seen so far, and I'm going to ask one of my colleagues who has a, thank you for pulling up the poll, just take a quick second to indicate your answer to these questions that are on the screen about these different maps. And again, the goal here is for us to look and to understand what you think will be useful from your perspective as we look to build out these pathways and maps moving forward. We'll give folks a few more minutes. We're at about 30%. Almost at 40%. Thank you for your patience. For those who have responded already. I should have planned for some Jeopardy music or something in the background while you're completing the poll, but appreciate everyone's engagement. We'll just give it another minute to get to about 70%, and then we'll just take a look at where the numbers are. All right, so we have a critical mass now. So thank you for those of you who've responded. So we're sharing the results now. So it seems like, you know, there's a consensus that pathway map models such as the one that we've shared would be helpful. And then we also think it'd be helpful for students, for industry, and also for community-based organizations. Excellent, excellent, great. So thank you for your responses to that. We will take that information under guidance as we seek to build out our maps for our Pathways Collaborative. But more to come on that. Really appreciate your feedback. So really now the next thing is to invite you all to join us. If you would, there on our website, njworkforce.org/pathway and skills collaboratives. There you can sign up to be a part of the collaborative. We have a very short form for you to fill out. It's 5 very quick questions It just allows us to capture some basic information on your industry, your title, the organization you represent, et cetera. As Aaron mentioned, we have about 16 or so colleges signed up for each sector already. And so we want to make sure that we have other partners joining them as well. So please feel free to do that. We really, this is going to be a collaborative effort, and really would look to have your engagement as we move forward. So please find some time to do that today. We'd love to kind of keep you abreast of next steps. So Aaron, I've gone through my piece. I think I may have gone over about a couple minutes. I apologize, but I'll turn it back to you in case any of our participants need or have any questions. And I will unmute you.
Thank you, Travis.
Thank you
for that excellent presentation. Thanks for unmuting me. I appreciate that. So this is an exciting day for all of us, and we are so happy to still have 140 people on the line. I know there were a couple of questions that came in, and I wanted just to address them, but I would encourage you all to add other questions if you have them now. We will be, Catherine will talk about next steps and some closing remarks, but this is really needs to be a collaborative effort. We are ready here at the Council of County Colleges and our Consortium for Economic and Workforce Development to provide the backbone and the leadership. But we can't do this alone, and we need all of you to help make sure that this is successful. Please continue to reach out to all of us, and we will commit to making this an incredibly collaborative and inclusive effort. And we ask you all to be part of that. So 2 questions. Dana Scheel had a question about credit for prior learning, which I think got answered in the chat discussion, but I just wanted to echo her point, which is that it is critically important, I think, from our perspective, that we make sure that there are on-ramps to post-secondary education. So that means making sure that the innovative work that Dana and John Connolly and others have talked about in the chat continue to happen, where high school students have an opportunity to earn credit and to clearly know that there is a pathway to them for continued education at a community college and then a 4-year college. It's also important, and we are committed to this as well, that we make sure that individuals, and Travis touched on this, that individuals who are in the workforce system or are going in through non-credit programs, that they too have a path to further education, that there are no dead ends. And so the notion of offering credit for prior learning is a critically important component to this. We want to make sure that everyone in New Jersey has a clear pathway. So Dana, thank you for the work that you're doing in Monmouth County and with Brookdale, and John Connolly, thanks for the work you're doing in Sussex. These are models that we need to continue to expand. And Jeff Schwartz, my friend from Camden, the Workforce Development Board, had a question about the role of workforce development boards. We see WDBs as being critical parts of the pathway partners. We know that the workforce development system is really on the front line now in serving the 1 million New Jerseyans who do not have jobs and the many underemployed individuals. We want to use the Pathway and Skills Collaboratives, Jeff, and to other workforce leaders on the line to build stronger connections between workforce development programs and community colleges, adult county vocational high schools, and our other partners. We want to make sure that when somebody walks into a one-stop career center and doesn't know what to do to get onto a path to a better job, that they've got access to pathways that will help them clearly understand where they are, help their counselor in the one-stop career center, the American Job Center, understand where they need to go, and to make better informed decisions about the pathway that they can get on to get a family supporting job and career. And so we see the workforce development boards as being critical components to the pathway partners. And we will be asking all of the WDBs in the state to join with us and to choose which of the Pathway and Skill Collaboratives they would like to work with us on, 1, 2, 3, or 4. We again believe that we've got to create a much more integrative system of education and a much more integrative system of workforce and economic development and education if we're going to solve the challenges and meet the opportunities that we face. So Jeff, thank you for being here and thank you for your leadership in workforce development. We look forward to working with you to make this meaningful to the work that you do and that your colleagues do across the state. So I think those were the main questions that we got on the chat. Again, please reach out to us. Please continue to provide your input and thoughts. We will be in touch with you on next steps. And with that, I will turn it over to Catherine for closing remarks and where we go from here.
Thank you, Aaron. I would like to draw your attention to one question, just because it's pretty important. Geraldine Gregory, and she just said maybe she walked away or missed out, but wanted to know how all this would be done. Meetings with community colleges and industry leaders or what? If you could just elaborate, I guess, again, very, very briefly on the 3 groups and how we'll be coalescing everyone together.
Yeah,
And
thank you for the question. Thanks, Catherine, for bringing it to my attention. We are going to be convening industry leadership teams that will meet regularly. They will consist of probably 12 to 18 industry leaders that will meet with us on a regular basis to guide our effort to make sure that we understand the needs of workforce. The pathway partners, which include all of the educational institutions, workforce development boards, community organizations, and our colleges and the 4-year colleges that choose to participate. They will be meeting regularly as well as an opportunity to identify, help us create that inventory of the current state, but also to help us find opportunities for further collaboration. We hope and we expect that this framework, the Pathway and Skills Collaboratives framework, will lead to much stronger connections and partnerships throughout the state on a local level and on a statewide level. And then finally, the community college teams will also be meeting regularly throughout the next 6 months in particular to help guide this effort to make sure that the work of our community colleges are completely integrated and connected to this effort. So we promise to try to keep the meetings focused, productive, and limited. But this work has to be done collaboratively. And so we know bringing all of you together and subgroups of us all together and with even more partners on a regular basis will help advance this work. So thank you for that question. Thank you, Catherine, for bringing that to my attention.
yes. So thank you all for your attendance and participation in our Pathway and Skills Collaboratives launch event. We're very excited. Your response or responses in the chat make us even more excited because we are feeling that you understand where we're going, why we're taking on this task, and it seems like you're pretty charged to get involved. And so that gives us energy. Thank you so much. I want to talk about next steps. So in accordance with our very aggressive schedule, our next steps are to have industry summits. So these will be meetings that we have the industry summit dates listed here. Of course, additional information will be sent out to everyone. But during our summits, we're going to have brief panels of business leaders addressing the recovery, economic growth, and equality or equity. And then we're going to have, again, breakout sessions, one for the employers, one for the pathway partners and community colleges, to kind of talk about the information we received during those panels from our business leaders. And we're going to use all of that information to really inform our moves forward with regards to identifying the pathways that we're going to map out. I noticed one comment that our forms on our website for the Pathway and Skills Collaboratives only allows individuals to sign up for one collaborative. guess what? We were thinking we didn't want to overstress anyone, and there was no way folks wanted to sign up for multiple. But guess what? That will be fixed in 15 minutes, and you'll be able to sign up for all 4. Again, your energy is really charging us, and you know, we're about to make this happen, and we're going to make the economy, pathway information, everything better for our state collectively. Just want to let you know, we will be emailing all participants with the PowerPoint presentation, as well as a recording of this event. There were several requests for those. I have kind of taken off of the chat a few emails of folks who jumped in for other registered participants. So we're going to make sure we get to everyone who is interested. Thank you again, and you'll be hearing from us very soon because we are making this happen. Thank you.